Yeah, we're recording.
Well, thank you, President Pat. Good morning, fellow Rotarians and friends. Thank you for joining us from around the world. With great pleasure, I introduce a very hardworking and talented man who lives just south of us in BC, who has a passion and a drive for peace parks. Kees Vanderpool is a driving force who worked with the Pacific Northwest Pets team this year with the innovative Zoom and Verbella. And thank you so much, Kees, for such a great job. I watched you day and night. I was in there skulking around and I saw you checking everything out and protecting everything and getting everybody registered. That was really cool. And thanks to Michelle too, because you guys were quite the team. Thank you to you and your team to speak. And I've always enjoyed working with you. So this is a little bit about Kees. He was PDG Michelle's classmate, and he was the past district governor of 5080, and he's from the Rotary Club of Nakups. How do you say it?
It's Nakusp.
Nakusp. Okay, thank you, BC. And he is the president of the Indus Peace Park Society. He is also the Indus Peace Park Society president from 2019 to 21. The Waterton Glacier International Peace Park director. And he's also the past district governor. I've said before, he was the Pacific Northwest Pets registrar and will continue on until 2024. And he was the District 5080 Council on Legislation alternate. And he's brought some really super neat people with him to talk about the Indus Peace Park. And take her away, Kees. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Rosie, and thank you, Pat. They say that Rotarians should always tell their stories. Just a minute, I have to share my screen here. And if I were to tell all the stories, that we would be here until tonight. Just a minute, slideshow from beginning. Okay, you can all see that? You can all see this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So they, as I said, we should all be telling our stories, and I've got stories about how I ended up in Canada with my family. A strange story about how I became a teacher. A strange story about how I got married to my wife from Japan, Mayumi. Strange story about how I ended up in Telegraph Creek. Now, for those of you that don't know where Telegraph Creek is, it's very close to Ketchikan. I was there for 3 years as a teacher, and then following that, I was 8 years in Cassiar, and there's a whole whack of stories attached to Cassiar. Then I decided I was going to become a vice principal, move up into the management of the education profession. And there's a story about how I almost didn't get a job on the Queen Charlotte City on Haida Gwaii. And then you'll see number 4 is Nakusp, where I live now. And there's a number of stories about how I ended up in Nakusp. Actually, I tried 2 times to get there, and I was successful on my second one. There's also a story about how I entered Rotary, how I got into the governor line, starting as an AG, and Norma Carville has an important role in that, and how I ended up as DG and a principal at Nakusp Secondary School. Now, all these stories have to do with things like concrete in manholes, stamp collecting, pen pal, my mother, geography, a delayed decision, a crossroads, which led to a right decision, asthma, and camping. And if I had to explain all of those stories, we would be here until tomorrow. But how is it that a retired high school principal is the president of what is called the Indus Peace Park Society. And it's our goal to create an international peace park on the border of India and Pakistan. And people have said, you're crazy. There are two nuclear nations down each other's throats. But we take heart from Nelson Mandela's quote, "It always seems impossible until it's done." And that is our belief, that we will eventually succeed. So the Indus Park, our story about that is our vision, our dream, and then our story. Our vision is to create two eco parks facing each other on the border, one in Pakistan and one in India, in Punjab. Our dream is eventually to unite the two parks as one and to restore trust, peace, and harmony that was lost in partition, which was when India became independent from being a colony in 1947. So our story started when I visited Pakistan in February of 2015. I actually led friendship exchange NID. This was the second one from District 5080. And the thing is that despite pleas from my family, from colleagues, from friends who said, "You're going to Pakistan?" They just had a school massacre in Peshawar where 140 staff and students were executed by the Taliban, and you're going to Pakistan? And I said, "Yeah, we are. We're going to be with Rotarians. It won't be a problem." So you can see the triangle here. We landed in Lahore. And throughout our 2-week stay, we ended up going to a multi-club meeting in Jang to the left, and then down to Multan, which is where we did the NID, and then back to Lahore. So while in Multan, I was able to participate in polio vaccination. And this gentleman here was our driver, and he was with us all morning. And magically, he came up to me and said, "Kees, I would like you to be the one to immunize my daughter." I have no idea how he got his daughter there, but that became part of my governor's story. It was a very touching moment. We were supposed to do a number of things in Pakistan, more touristy things. The first was to visit the fort in Lahore, which is what we did. Fantastic place. The second was to see a cricket match in Faisalabad. Unfortunately, that was denied to us because of rising tensions, Taliban, etc. And the third thing that we were supposed to do was to see the changing of the guard ceremony at the Wagah border crossing. Now, this is a world famous event that happens simultaneously on both sides of the border. And it ends up with guards strutting their stuff and ending with a symbolic handshake at the very end. We were denied seeing that, again, because of rising tensions. And so I said to my host, you know, I'm a member of the Waterton Glacier International Peace Park Association. In fact, I've been a director now for 6 years. And oh, sorry, here's where we are. The top little bulge there is Waterton Park in Canada, in Alberta. And then you have the larger part of the International Peace Park, which is Glacier Park in Montana. And I said to my host that, you know, as a director on Waterton Glacier, we're always trying to see if we can create peace parks in other parts of the world. And actually, when I said that Norm was influential, he got me actually into becoming a director in the Waterton Glacier Park. So I said, why not take that no man's land and turn it into a park? And so that was in February of 2015. Later on that year, Tony Sharma, who's also on this call, he's an Indian living in the UK, born in the UK. He's of Indian ancestry, and he decided to go, of all places, as a Hindu, to Pakistan, which is a Muslim country. And like me, his friends, colleagues, and family said, Tony, you're going to Pakistan, you're going to be killed. I can't say any more about it. He was involved in the NID as well. I didn't know about Tony. While there, he met Shahzad Ahmed, who was one of our hosts, one of my hosts when I was in Pakistan. They developed a friendship. And since that time, Shahzad has told me that there was this, an Englishman that he had met, and I didn't know about Tony. And for 2 years, I was trying to find out who this Englishman was, who was trying to create an international peace park on the border of Afghanistan and Pakistan. And finally, in Atlanta in 2017 at the convention, Shahzad pulled me over and said, Kees, I want you to meet somebody. And so here comes this burly Englishman, you can see in the blue shirt and the UK flag. And as all Rotarians do, we always talk about our passions and, you know, our projects and so on and so forth. And in the conversation, all of a sudden I stopped Tony. I said, just hang on, Tony. I said, are you the Englishman that I've been trying to meet for 2 years? And he looked me in the eye and he said, you know what, Kees? I think I am. And so that developed a friendship and a passion between us for peace parks that continues to this day. So I said that Tony is a Hindu of Indian ancestry. Well, in Atlanta the next year, Tony introduced Mayumi and me to Mohammed Ayaz. Mohammed is also on this call, also known affectionately as Mo. He was born in Pakistan, but moved to the UK as a very small child, and he's lived there all of his life. He's a Muslim, and Tony and Mo are the best of friends. In fact, when Tony became district governor of District 1130, he wanted Mo to be his assistant governor. And so in Toronto, the three of us became quite the team. And then we roped in Norma Carville. And we thought we wanted to do something about a peace park. So we created what was then known as the Indus Peace Park Committee. And it was made up of 12 members who you see here. You'll notice that the top 6, half of our committee are from India and Pakistan. Everyone here is a Rotarian. But at some point in time, we realized that we needed to be a little more formal. So we became a registered society in British Columbia known as the Indus Peace Park Society. You can see Shahzad on the top left is a director on the society. You can see Norm, Tony, and Mo as well. So this is actually a picture of something that I drew a long time ago when the idea first came out about what a peace park might look like in India and Pakistan, realizing that they are nuclear nations. And so I had the vision of pulling apart the border to create 2 boundary lines around this peace zone, or what we like to call the oasis of peace. There would be a border on both sides of the park with security, entry points, customs, immigration to get into that international peace zone in the middle. And this was done before I realized that there was already another organization that had done something similar. International Peace Garden on the border of the province of Manitoba and the state of North Dakota. And you can see the border running from the top of the page down to the bottom, with Canada on the right, the United States on the left. Now, you go into this park right at the bottom where it says entrance. You bypass Canadian, well, we bypassed Canadian customs. went straight to the park gate, paid our $20. We didn't have to identify ourselves or anything. All of a sudden, we were free to travel any of those red roads, both in Canada and the United States. So we actually entered the United States without any kind of controls. And in fact, oh, and here is what it looks like. If you ever have a chance, it's a 2,400 acre park. That's Miami, with the CEO of the International Peace Garden, with the border being this ditch here. And you can freely go across back and forth. But on their website, it says that you are no longer in either of these two countries, which begged the question, so what happens if a crime is committed? Who looks after the investigation? What about trials and all that kind of stuff if you're no longer in either of these two countries? What happens if I'm injured? Which ambulance will come and help me out? So I asked these questions of the CEO, Tim Chapman, and he said, you know, Kees, I'm brand new in this job, and those are questions that I have as well. And I actually haven't pursued him to find out what all this actually means. So our Peace Park, we want to replicate the idea of the Peace Garden in Punjab. And so we're looking at 500 acres, land about 50-50 from both countries, a memorial, peace center, eco-friendly park facilities. And Tony will talk more about what this will look like later on. But now I'd like to pass this on to Muhammad Ayas, who's going to continue the story. So Mo, you need to unmute.
Talking to myself for a few moments there. Yeah, thank you, Kees. Next slide, please. Well, you heard right at the beginning, Kees admitting that you have to be crazy to pursue peace in this way. And as we got together and passed the baton on to different peacemakers and, discussed ideas, we did most of this when we went on international conferences. And here, there was a Pakistani Rotarian, Shahzad Qureshi, who is into urban forests. And when I spoke to him, he made it clear to me, he said that, the nature does not, distinguish between these man-made borders, and our common enemy is not India or Pakistan. Our common enemy is climate change. And he reminded me of what the founder of Pakistan said, which Muhammad Ali Jinnah, where he said the vision for Pakistan and India that he had was similar to the relationship between the US and Canada. And that we should try and ignore the politics as Rotarians. We should try and bypass all the politics and look at nature and look beyond the Radcliffe line and look at what we got in common. If I didn't tell you where I was from or where Tony was from, you wouldn't know. Our DNA is the same, our culture is the same. Next slide, please. We felt, and you can notice the date there, the 4th of March, today being the 4th of March, we felt that the Radcliffe line, all this partition, all these politics started in Parliament. Why not launch our project in Parliament and get together people from the Asian, sort of Indian and Pakistani diaspora, as well as peacekeepers from around the world. And here we had the launch, and our host was the Right Honourable Stephen Timms. It was a cross-party, multi-party sort of gathering. And our secret weapon was what our colleagues in Rotary just said early on before we began, which was a 4-way test. That is our compass. That's the compass with which we've been traveling this peace path. We actually thought about partition itself. Nearly 1 million people, innocent people, died in partition. 14 million people crossed over in mass migrations. And we started up with a minute's silence for all those victims. Next slide, please. Here you can see a sort of sample of the people we had there. My father, he served in the British Indian Army Signals, and he had friends from both sides of the border, and we happened to live in the Pakistani side, so he joined the Pakistani army signals when partition happened. But it's very important to recognize the military, because the military are there as guardians of peace. And when there's wars, then obviously politicians have failed, not the military. The military do what they're asked to do. And we remember that our task, as President JF Kennedy said, our task is not to fix or blame for the past, but to fix the course for the future. And that's what we as Rotarians are trying to do. And it was important that we gathered the right people there. And there was so much love and affection in this gathering. Next slide, please. I met another friend of Rotaries, someone that's doing urban forests in India. And when we met with this gentleman, Shabantu, he was at a conference to do with climate change. And he reminded me again, little, sort of taps on the back, so to speak, to say, well, do you remember what Mahatma Gandhi said? He said, what we are doing to our forests is a mirror reflection of what we are doing to ourselves. And again, trying to keep our central core value around the environment, what we share in common, our DNA. And it was a helpful reminder there to keep us going, because sometimes it can be a lonely journey pursuing peace. Next slide, please. One of the things we had to do was, if you look around the world, most of the conflicts are people trying to possess land and occupy land. And our scenario or our mindset was to change the mindset and think into land for peace. So we approached the governor of Punjab on the Pakistani side. He was on a visit to London. And one thing Tony, the past district governor for London, is very good at is winning people's hearts. I mean, we can try and unlock politics. Politics will be like this, it's going to be very complicated. But when you win people's hearts, it's a different, pursuit, and it's very honourable because you're trying to do a win-win, situation with everyone concerned. And the governor was very pleased. He said, we've got the second holiest site for the Sikh community around the world, which is in Pakistan, and we built a corridor, peace corridor, so that people from India can come along and go to this shrine. We've already got the infrastructure in place. This sounds like a really wonderful project with Rotary around the world, and especially if it's led by Indian and Pakistani Rotarians. He was very happy with the idea, said, send your people to come and see me. I'm really with this idea. Next slide, please. And this is our sort of leadership team in Pakistan. We pass batons on. It's never about us. It's always about service above self. And we passed the baton to our colleagues, who the governor gave a VIP tour of the Kartarpur corridor and actually showed them that, look, you've got this land. You tell me what you need to do. I'm with you 100%. And then obviously we were planning to go there and meet people on the other side, India, etc. But then COVID hit, another leveler, another reset. But we're still carrying on with this, project. The car may be in a traffic jam, as Kees has said many times. Our tank is full. We're ready and roaring to go. And now I'm going to pass you through, as I said before. You've got the visionary in Kees, and you've got the heart of the project in past District Governor Tony Sharma, who will talk about what we hope to, encompass in this peace park. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kees and Mo. So, what is this Indus Peace Park going to look like? If you can imagine, as Nelson Mandela says, and people are telling us it's never going to happen, we have to think a little bit out of the box. So, after a few years, this is where we're at. We're going to build 2 parks, either side of the border. And with the hope and the vision and belief, we will connect them. So to make it palatable and something quite exceptional, we decided that each of these parks has got to be better than anything else ever seen before. So we are Rotary. Next slide, please. And what does Rotary stand for? The 7 areas of focus. So in each of the parks on each side of the border, each park will incorporate every single area of focus. Next slide, please. Given that we believe in peace, knowing that conflict kills more people than disease. For many years, Rotary have embarked on peace building and conflict resolutions, and there are already 7 peace universities around the world. Next slide, please. So in our park, we would like to have the 8th peace university or education centre. And with the latest area of focus for Rotary, the environment, we want to make this an iconic environmental area. There will be no pollution, no plastic. We want to encourage reusable energy, solar power, wind power, biogas. All the vehicles will be electronically powered with the batteries being charged by solar power. We want to encourage the outdoor activities such as cycling. Next slide, please. So once we've done supporting the environment, maternal health, because the children are the future of the world. We want to build the health centres for newborns. And we want to provide these because these will help the local area, the local economies, and the local people. Next slide, please. After that, we want to have educational facilities for people on the ground to grow the economies. So teach people about organic farming, help those learn skills which will put money in their pockets, women empowerment, computer skills, building skills. Next slide, please. There's nothing more important than water and sanitation, one of the first areas of focus of Rotary. And again, we want to use the latest technologies to provide clean water and proper sanitation, which is sadly lacking in these areas. Next slide, please. One of my favorites is this, and the reason being, Calcutta Rotary Club built this disease and prevention centre in Calcutta. When they heard about what we're doing, and when we did a presentation to them, they offered to build a disease and prevention treatment centre of in all places, not India, but in Pakistan. Now, the funny thing is, the Calcutta Club were sponsors of the Lahore Club prior to partition. Shekhar Mehta, the incoming RI president, his vision is all around education. Next slide, please. So within the park, and after consultation with with the Rotary International President nominee Shekhar Mehta, we met him in San Diego. We've incorporated a basic education literacy center so that the people in the local area can have education to the highest standard. Next slide, please. So whilst we're stuck in the traffic jam, and Kees will tell you, we were literally virtually getting on the plane when it was cancelled. Whilst our car is stuck in the traffic jam, which has been now for almost a year, what else has happened? We continue talking to clubs like yourselves, telling them what we're trying to do. And the Rotary Club of Calcutta, Dhaka in Bangladesh, and the Rotary Club of Kashmir said, well, we want to build a park. And it started out as being a park with 1,000 trees. Next slide, please. It then went on to a peace park within Kashmir to incorporate all 7 areas of focus, because there are so many difficult political and religious tensions that the 2 Rotary clubs said, let's build a peace park here and bring the people together. The upshot is, from what we're doing, there are now 4 or 5 different peace parks being constructed in various ways around the world. So at this point, let me pass you back to past District Governor Kees, who will then continue the story. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony and Mo. And what you see in front of you is our logo. The intertwined flags is a copy of the design for the Waterton Glacier, and you'll notice that there are 9 districts that are supported through our directors. So as both Tony and Mo said, yes, we were supposed to go to India and Pakistan on March the 7th, which is almost exactly a year ago. And Norm McCarville, who's on this call, he had already driven to Vancouver in anticipation of catching the flight from Vancouver to Delhi the next day. Mayumi and I were going to fly from Kelowna to Vancouver and meet him there. Norm is an interesting fellow. He got me involved in the governor line, in the Peace Park situation, and in the friendship exchange. And when I said that I was invited to speak at the Rotary the Rotary Convention for World Peace in Ontario, California, first of all, Tony and Mo said, well, you know, we're going to come to California to support you, what you're doing, Kees. And I said, no, if you're going to come to California, you and Mo are going to be part of the conversation, because it's important for people to see that Muslims and Hindus can be friends. And that's why I have them on all of our presentations. Norm, because maybe I'm kind of like a little brother to him. He always has to look after me, and he decided that he wants to be part of this as well. And that's how he became the secretary treasurer of the Indus Peace Park Society. But when I said we were going to California, he said, oh, okay, I'll come down and be the technical guy. And so he actually drove from Nelson to California. He loves to drive. And so Norm's also been part of our tech team, has been part of our tech team, all these presentations that we make. So you can see that we were supposed to land in New Delhi, travel north to Jalandhar, and then to have a stop in Amritsar and go to the Kartarpur corridor, where we hope to have our park. Cross over the border at Dhaka, go to Lahore, go to Multan, and then leave from Karachi. A 21-day trip. 10 hours before departure, I phoned Norm in Vancouver. I said, Norm, it's off. COVID-19. Great disappointment. We were all packed. We had our gifts. We had everything, our money exchange, our vaccinations, you name it. So this is this big arrow pointing up the screen is actually the Kartarpur corridor. The boundary is the yellow line that squiggles across the page. And so Pakistan has created this corridor that allows Sikhs from India to travel to, as Tony mentioned, the second holiest site for Sikhs in the world. The red rectangle represents almost exactly 500 acres, and it straddles the Pakistan-India border. And you can see, and the reason we chose this area, and who knows if this is actually going to be where it will be, but it's right beside the Kartarpur corridor, where there are security measures in place. We hope to eliminate that yellow line that is within the red rectangle and create an oasis of peace for all the peoples of the Punjab in this area. So what have we done? Well, we have a lot of support from around the world. You can see there the senior members, and there's more from Rotary International. We're all members of the Rotary Action Group for Peace. International Peace Garden is on board. The Waterton Glacier was the writer of the original letter that started the process. We have the Aga Khan Foundation that's keenly interested. In District 5080 at the bottom, we've got a charitable fund, which allows for Americans only to contribute monies to our initiative. We have spoken at a number of conferences and assemblies, and we've spoken to numerous Rotary clubs, including this one, of course, to Ketchikan. So what makes us think that we can create a park on the border of India and Pakistan. What makes us think we can do this? Well, we're kind of looking at other things that have happened in the world. And this is a sign from South Africa, where apartheid had been a way of life for decades and decades. And it disappeared as an official policy. What makes us think we can do this? Well, the Berlin Wall separated East and West Berlin. And in 1990, 89, can't remember the year, it came down and reunited the two Germanys into one. What makes us think we can do this? Well, in 1985, Rotary had a mission to eradicate polio from around the world. We're 99.9% of the way done. We can do this. We will end that. What makes us think we can do this? Well, we're Rotary and we're people of action. It always seems impossible until it's done. And more than peace will grow here. So that's the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for allowing us to be part of your club and your program today. I'll do the stop screen sharing. And we are open for questions, comments.
Thank you, Kees. Oh, let's see. So it looks like Greg has a question.
Yeah, are you still looking for support from other districts to join you in this effort?
Yes, we are. It's tough to change logos to add another district number onto it. I'm not sure how we're going to do that, but yes, we are looking for more support. Right now, we're really not looking for money per se, because we really want to have something tangible for which to which funds can be applied. And that was the purpose of our year ago mission, to go and search for land on both sides of the border. But don't worry, we will be asking later on, but we have a lot of support. I mean, if the Aga Khan Foundation is behind us, there's a whole bunch of other foundations, and people have said it's an impossible dream, but boy, what a mission you guys have. We really hope that it can be done. And how can we help? Just to let you know, I presented to the Kelowna, BC Rotaract Club, or we did, sorry, about 3 weeks ago. And I got an email last night from the president of the club, because I said to him, you know, we'd love to have you participate in whatever way. And so the request came back from them saying that we're a Rotaract club. We would like to partner with a Rotaract club in Pakistan and a Rotaract club in India to figure out ways to further your Peace Park initiative. So that I'm working on that. I wrote a letter back to him last night saying that that will actually happen, but it will take a bit of time to arrange all those things. So we have tons of support. On our Indus Peace Park website, there's a link to a change.org petition, and we encourage everybody to go through that and support our cause through change.org. I hope that answers your question, Greg.
Any other questions?
Kees, was there a in Chandigarh, wasn't there a peace park up there that the Rotary Club did?
I don't know.
I seem to remember that when we
Yes,
visited.
Mary, you're right.
There's you know, when we're thinking about our initiative, there's one thing to create a peace park on the border of Canada and the US, two very friendly nations. And the Waterston Glacier was started in 1932. The International Peace Park was started in 1932. again, between Canada and the US. It's fairly easy to create a peace park within a country. Even the Kashmir one we should not probably have all the tensions that ours could possibly generate. So our project is tremendously ambitious. We realize that. We know our goal was to have it in place by August of 2022, which is the 75th anniversary of partition. But we are realists. This could take much longer. I mean, the Berlin Wall went up in the 60s and it came down in the 90s. Apartheid was there for decades and decades. Polio has been around. Our initial stab at polio started in '85. We're very realistic, but we have so much support. People that are dying to get on board, but we need to have that tangible piece of land to get us started. Tony and Mo, if you want to, or Norm, if you want to pitch in on this. Or not.
Okay, well, let me just add. We are trying to do the impossible, and we're going to do it. And we're just going to, we're looking at ways how we're going to do it, and we found the way to do it. And all the agreements are kind of in place. We just had to get on that plane and get them signed. So it's just a question of when we can get on that plane. As soon as we're on that plane, we're going to get these agreements signed, and we're going to build the best peace parks in the world because we are Rotary.
And Kees and the group for support, we've got a database started for hopefully emails and bulletins coming up in the future. So we want to increase our database to as many Rotarians and non-Rotarians as we can.
Just to that effect, I did mention maybe before everyone was here when I mentioned that Greg Horn and I were new best friends because both of our districts switched from Club Runner to DAC-DB. DAC-DB actually donated the database, a WordPress website to the Indus Peace Park Society free of charge. So that's the kind of support that we're getting. It's incredible.
Could I just come in there just to add to that? When you saw the Indus Peace Park Committee, you may have seen that there was a lack of women representation. And I know that Kees is working hard with Tony and senior Rotarians to try and get more women participation. And even the park itself, Kees was talking about the garden, the Peace Garden, and he was explaining that if something goes wrong in the Peace Garden, what happens? Well, India and Pakistan have got a brilliant reputation around the world of sending troops in peacekeeping missions. So what we're going to ask both countries to do, because at the moment there is a truce, as you may have heard in the media, of hostilities in Kashmir, is we are looking for female peacekeeping troops from India and Pakistan to be the rangers and the peace guardians in the park.
And further to that, again, with the gender inequity, we're working at getting 4 female Rotarians, 2 from within India, 2 from within Pakistan, as a first step to create a more equitable group within our society.
Wow, what an amazing story. See, so are there other questions?
No, but I really applaud this project.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very, very impressed with this because this is a real challenging one, but we know who's going to win out. Hopefully soon.
Thank you, Lois.
You're welcome.
See, so any closing questions? Or comments?
So it's induspeacepark.org is what you need to look up. Now, understand that that is a fairly old website now. It hasn't been updated for a while. We do have a new webmaster in the name of Caleb Sommerfeld, who is the DGD for District 5020. He was also the technical guy in charge of pets this year. And he's also puts the 5020 bulletin out and does a whole whack of other things that I'm waiting for Caleb to develop our new website. But in the meantime, our old one is still up.
Ah, fantastic. Thank you, Kees. Thank you, Mo. Thank you, Tony. What wonderful project and a great presentation. Thank you all very, very much for attending this meeting. And I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you, Pat.
Buddy, thank you.